This is Deborah Atkinson, and you're listening to Flipping 50, where I address your top questions and struggles. I share what to eat, how to move, and how to think to get the energy and the vitality you want in the second and better half. And we are, as I record live early one morning in December of 2018, rushing to the end of the year, which is an exciting time for both projecting what's going to be true in 2019 and see a concurrent blog on the trends expected for 2019 coming soon on flipping50.com. But it's also a great time to reflect and look back at least once, both in your own personal endeavors, your physical goals, your energy level, what went well, what didn't, and in this case, what research has to say about how we should exercise and or change our lifestyle habits so that we can live better longer, or as I like to say, stronger longer. So I'm about to dive into this roundup of 2018 research and resources that will help you eat better, get stronger, and lose weight if that's a goal for good after menopause. Most of the studies that I'm sharing today were published. A couple were pilots presented at conferences, and a bonus eighth study that I'm going to include here is from 2015, and I throw that in because of the significant results a sneaky little trick is giving Flipping 50 students. So, without further ado, let's dive in. Number one, you may have thoughts about belly fat, cellulite, and weight gain in general, but it's your heart that is at the heart of it. As you're looking to the new year and your exercise routine with fresh goals, here's something to consider. In a study published by the American Heart Association, supervised exercise 4 to 5 days a week had significant improvements in heart performance compared with a control group that did basic stretching and balance movements. So here's the takeaway on that. Whether or not you do supervised exercise programs or you're exercising on your own and managing to get it done 4 to 5 days a week, you're going to be way ahead of the game compared to, say, some of those most popular trends right now. Say bar exercise. It's probably not your best friend if you want to turn back the clock with a stronger and healthier heart. Is it better than on the couch? Yes. Significantly better for you next year? Not so much. So what's the intensity or the frequency, you may be asking, of those 4 or 5 days a week that you're exercising? It doesn't have to be hard. It just has to be done. Like my friend Elizabeth Lombardo says, done is better than perfect. Yoga and barre can't have a place in your regular routine. Let me say that again. They can absolutely have a place in your regular routine. They just can't be the entire routine if you want to live longer, stronger, and the most optimally. Number two, a study looked at physical activity and sedentary time against cardiovascular disease biomarkers in 60 to 64-year-olds, so most likely postmenopause women. Greater time in light physical activity and moderate to vigorous intensity physical activity and less sedentary time were associated with more favorable biomarkers. Now, those are C-reactive protein, interleukin 6, and leptin, to be specifically. And these differences were greater among women in the study than in men, meaning there were much more significant benefits to the women in the study than there were men. Those biomarkers are big news, given as C-reactive protein is a measure of inflammation, both important for disease risk, and it's often a part of weight loss resistance. And then there's leptin, which it will fail to signal you to stop eating when you're full. That coupled with stress or a lack of sleep and the hormones that increase your appetite, will lead you down a path you don't want to go on. So, important big flip you want to make is that the two levels of activity that improve your biomarkers the most, pay attention here, are that NEAT, that non-exercise activity time. Longer, slower activities like golf and gardening, stand-up paddleboarding, even cleaning your house up and down the stairs that you can do all day long, along with higher intensity exercise like interval training 1 or 2 times a week are best. So skip that middle of the road, what we call here at Flipping 50, no benefits zone, unless you do a lot of half marathon racing. It's not your best friend. Those hour-long cardio sessions on cardio equipment are more likely to disrupt hormones that cause you to hold on to fat and just make you tired, not better. Number 3, preliminary studies are those not yet published and done on small samples of subjects. So one such study shows greater activity makes older adults feel younger. This was a pilot study presented at APA, the American Psychological Association conference this year. So the takeaway is if you're feeling old or wish you could turn back the clock, adults who have more physical activity feel younger. What happens when you feel younger? You act younger. You make plans, you start things, you're more optimistic, which all turn into making you even younger. Number 4, a 5-year study on 70 to 77-year-olds shows older adults choose walking most often and social dancing next. And they're willing to walk fast enough to make it intense without supervision. Women's results were quite unique. The study found that women tend to choose lower intensity exercise than men do and choose 60% of the time to exercise with others. For men and women both, 2/3 of the exercise they self-selected was done outdoors, both summer and winter. So what we're really looking at here is those people who are already active. They're doing it on a regular basis. These were the common denominators. So the message, surround yourself with a community, whether it's from your neighborhood or it's from a private Facebook group or a form of accountability like Flipping 50's Cafe. Knowing someone knows what you're doing matters. If you often think, I should be able to do this myself, know this, that seeking support isn't a sign of weakness. As my friend Dr. Joan Rosenberg points out, it's a sign of humanness. We all need somebody. And this research is from the Generation 100 research from Norwegian University of Science and Technology, and it includes 2 published studies to date. Number 5, older adults who do the most exercise were twice as likely to be disease-free and fully functional, increasing their health span by 10 years. There's a catch, however. Physical activity levels need to be several times higher than what the World Health Organization currently recommends, which is, and that's in line with the CDC, Center for Disease Control, which is currently 150 minutes of brisk walking or 75 minutes of running, or that intensity. So if you're not a runner, don't panic. That could be on your elliptical or in the swimming pool or anywhere. And that's their suggestion to significantly reduce the risk of chronic disease. But this study actually showed for your activity to really make you twice as likely to be disease-free, it needs to be either longer or more intense, or a little of both. And you can revert right back to the earlier mentioned study where it was interval training and it was that NEAT, a lot of daily activity, simply movement, not necessarily at the gym sweating. So small things matter, right? So those friends, or if you are one who don't let friends get in the way of their daily exercise habit, or who have that religious long bike ride or run on the weekends, they're probably going to outlive you healthier. You want to be them. When I go to a conference or speak at an event, for instance, I will often skip the first session of the morning during a conference, or make sure I've made plans that give me an hour to sneak away so I can get a workout in and shower before dinner. I could often fly home on the last day of a conference, but instead, I often stay an extra night just to get a long run in a brand new environment. And it's always so much easier than when you re-enter at home and you have so much to do. The next day is almost an exercise loss. So always pack running shoes and or a swimsuit, your favorite mode of exercise. Try to get out in a new city, or if you're at the beach, which is what I do, look forward to getting out there and exercising in that new environment. That study is from a Blue Mountains Eye study that began in 1992. So a long-term study really proving to be disease-free and fully functional for much longer in your life. It's one of the world's largest epidemiologic studies, so pay attention. Number 6, interval training is still important. So we've echoed that a couple of times here so far, but unlike fads and trends, it's not going away anytime soon, especially for those of us that are busy and who find time to be the biggest obstacle to exercise. Whether you do high-intensity interval training 10 minutes 5 times a week, or you do 20 minutes twice a week, it makes a difference. And note this, if you do more than 45 minutes a week of intervals, it actually can backfire you with elevated cortisol levels and an increased injury risk. So at the very least, if I can't convince you to make the most of an appropriate sweet spot of 45 minutes of interval training and no more than that during the week, at the very least, if you're doing more, be sure that you're changing the mode. So if you run doing something high impact a couple of times a week, try to balance that with high intensity on a rowing machine, elliptical, or in the swimming pool so it's easier on your joints. Obese postmenopausal women, an average age of 59, were featured in a study done at the University of Scranton, published in the October Menopause Journal. Those who did interval training lost twice as much weight and 6 inches more body mass as those who did more traditional brisk walking. So say you strike out of your door with your shoes on, and you're either just going to go for a 45-minute brisk walk versus you're going to insert interval training into that walk, finding a hill that, say, you charge up for a minute and a half at a time and walk back down, say 3 minutes or more till you're recovered, and you repeat that 6 times. That interval training is going to be far more effective for you. Only the HIIT group, that high-intensity interval training group in this study, changed fat mass. This is a huge take home. So weight loss is really not what you want. It may be what you say, but you need to be very clear that your goal is fat loss. Changing and reducing fat mass is important, since weight loss that includes more muscle will eventually come back, since it makes you fatter and less able to burn fat. If we lose muscle, we lose metabolism. So that certainly is not the goal. That's a part of the science behind my program, Fit You. For more information about how to get this program at 50% off as a Flipping 50 insider, if you have 20 or more pounds to lose, go to the show notes or go to the link flipping50.com/fit-u, the letter U, not the word. Number 7, we're getting close here. Postmenopausal women between 50 and 76, the average age of these subjects was 62, did 8 weeks of strength training program versus no strength training. The exercise was very simple. So those of you might be a little leery or not yet strength training, thinking maybe you're fearful of getting hurt or injured or don't know where to start. This group of subjects did twice weekly workouts, doing 2 sets of light weights that they could lift up to 25 repetitions. So fairly light, really light, in fact, according to my recommendations. The strength training group experienced significant reduction in body fat, increase in their fat-free mass, and therefore total body water. You may or may not know that your fat-free mass, which we know as muscle, is where your body water is stored. And third, their quality of life ratings increased significantly. The Flipping 50 Stronger program can vouch for that. Having now supported 180 women through our pilot study group in our very first session, the self-reports of feeling stronger are the most abundant feedback. Have participants lost inches, weight, and body fat? Yes, but by far the best liked result by our students was this unsolicited feeling of inner strength. So for more information, you can check out the show notes and look at flipping50.com/get stronger. Number 8. All right, this is the bonus. This last study, I'm sneaking it even though it's from 2015. This topic has been popping up in studies all year long due to talk about toxins and toxin storage and fat loss resistance. During menopause, your ability to lose fat may be related to one simple factor. It's not cutting out things as much as it's adding this one, and it's fiber. Low dietary fiber is the most frequently involved factor in the risk of gaining weight. Increased fiber is related to decreased risk of weight gain. Simple, right? So if you're finding your personal fiber intake low, you may need to do some label reading or Google to find out what is your average daily intake. Do it for 3 days just to give you some insight. So many of us are creatures of habit. So if you've done 3 days worth of checking out your fiber intake, you're going to have a pretty good idea of what your average intake is. Where should it be? Just according to recommendations. And this is not my recommendation for you, by the way. Women over the age of 50 need 21 grams of fiber. The average American gets 15. Many, that means, get fewer than that. So what you're trying to find is your fiber intake. Ignore the standards for right now. You're trying to find yours, and you're trying to find what is your ideal, where you're eliminating better, you're staying full and satisfied, killing cravings, because fiber will help stabilize blood sugar levels that cause those mood swings and or cause you to have that kind of ravenous hunger where your switch just gets turned on and you need it right now, or you feel like you're crashing and can't focus. You want to gradually ramp up. Flipping 50's Fiber Boost is one way to do it. And here's why I created it and love it. It's a natural source of 5 different fiber sources. It's like a plate of food, so your body can handle it better than some other products on the market. Start by adding a teaspoon to smoothies every day for a week. It's just going to bump your fiber intake by about 4 grams a day. That's reasonable. And then add a teaspoon to soup every day too the following week. Then increase those 2 servings slightly. So maybe it's a teaspoon and a half each time. So the idea is you're increasing your fiber intake by about 4 or 5 grams daily, but only on a weekly basis. So are you making that bump up? By the end of the month, your fiber intake will be significantly greater without disrupting your body, as long as you also increase your water intake. Huge. You'll be more regular, at reduced risk for colon cancer, and be supporting weight loss while crushing your cravings. It can also have a lot to do with your DNA, it being weight loss resistant. After 34 years in research focused on hormone balancing exercise, even I found something new from my genetic testing results earlier this fall. A lower fat diet for me, meaning by default a higher in carb diet, something's got to give, was a better solution for me. So without a health need necessarily to lose weight, but a few back of the closet items that had all been abandoned, the simple shift from higher fat to a slightly lower and slightly more carbohydrate helped me lose a few pounds easily. So I'm not eating less. I'm just shifting the type of food I'm eating. A few less servings of guacamole and a few more sweet potatoes. And that's not a hard transition at all. In fact, when you're eating the way you're built to eat, it's often easier. Both your intuition and your body tell you so. For more information on DNA testing with a simple saliva test, I will send to your door and make it easy for you to return with a label to pop it in the mail, and then go over the result with you personally. Go to flipping50.com/store to compare 3 options. You can look at your health, your nutrition, weight management, and if you're really into endurance training, you're doing events, or you are someone like me who simply loves endurance training, you may choose the Elite, which features how do you best exercise? What changes do you want to make to really optimize your body composition? Do that now while you can save 20% off of genetic testing before Christmas 2018 using the code GENES, GENES. It's a test that you'll do once in your life. Your DNA is not going to change. And learn how to live better and stronger longer. One more tip on how eating better, including fiber, can help you, just like the order of exercises matters. Eat your protein and your veggies first in every single meal. Finish with carbohydrates that may be at that meal. The sugar impact of them is going to be lower if you do that, even if you're already choosing carbs wisely. You're skipping the bread and the chips basket they put in front of you at a restaurant, and you're opting for the brown rice and the sweet potatoes. That life is short, eat dessert first mantra, not so much if you want to reduce the sugar impact. If I have spurred a question, this is it. There you have it. Some of the research that really shows how you can begin to form your 2019 exercise plan and your commitment to it. So if I've given you some ideas about strength training for optimal results, or for fat loss, or interval training for the same reason, I'd love to hear from you. Just a comment about what will you do and what will you change. On your level, it's a small commitment to tell someone, here's what I need to do based on what I just heard. And for me, it's great feedback. I love knowing something helped. If you still have a question, leave it below the show link at flipping50.com/2018 research. I love hearing from you. And if this episode was helpful, please leave me a rating in iTunes and then share it with a friend. Surround yourself with a supportive community of women on the same journey. To get the most from this week's episode, check out today's show notes at flipping50.com. Again, it's /2018 research, and you'll find the juicy free downloads, the information about the resources and the programs that I've let you know about, some savings of 20 and 50% off, and you'll find all the resource. So if you're kind of a prove it to me girl, I have and always include research-based data and the link so that you can go and do a little bit more research on your own. What are you waiting for? Let's start flipping 50 together.